Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel, Creative Chelsea. I'm really excited to be here with you today for World Card Making Day. I hope you are enjoying all the fun projects and techniques. If you are new to my channel, I would love to have you subscribe. Just click on the subscription button and then the bell for notifications. If you need any Stampin' Up! Products to make this card, you can visit my online store and the link is in the description box below. Today I am sharing the kissing technique with you to create this beautiful card. I know that this is an old technique, but I hope to show you a new way to use it. So let's get started. So let's begin with some of the products that I'll be using. I'm going to be using 3 different stamp sets, which I know is a lot, but I have good reason for it. The first is the Daisy Garden stamp set, and this is where we're going to get our floral images. The second is the Watercolor Shapes Stamp Set. This is the one where we're going to be kissing the Daisy Garden image from, and we're going to be using this circle image here. And then last, I'm using the Peaceful Moment Stamp Set, and this is where I'm going to be getting my greeting. So let's begin with the stamping. I've got my Daisy Garden image on a clear block, and I'm going to ink it up with the Memento Black ink. And the reason I'm using this ink is because I'm also going to be using Stampin' Blend markers to coloring in the images. So I want to make sure I have enough ink on this, so just make sure to keep going until you feel like you've got good coverage. You don't need to do the whole image, but you do want to ink up the areas that you are going to use, which includes this flower that's kind of popping out. There's 2 flowers that are coming out of our circle, and then kind of this area around them. Then I'm going to be kissing it with the circle from the Watercolor Shapes, but I don't want to actually use the front of the stamp. So the Watercolor Shapes is a variated image, and so you're going to need to use the back of this stamp so that you can get a nice solid image when you kiss these 2 stamps together. So I have placed the front of the stamp on my clear block, and I'm using just the back, which is nice and smooth. So I'm focusing here as my center of my circle, this flower right there. So I'm just going to pick that up, and then I'm going to stamp that down onto my Basic White Cardstock. Then I'm going to clean it, and I'm going to pick up this flower that's coming out of my circle, just with whatever is left. Okay, so then I'm going to take a baby wipe, and I'm going to remove the images that I don't want. So I don't need that leaf on this side, and I don't need this flower at the top. Now to get into the detailed areas, you can just put the baby wipe, I'm using a baby wipe by the way, and just kind of push it into those, between those petals to remove any images there. Okay. So now I'm going to line this up with my previous image. And so I'm just looking through my stamp, I'm trying to line it up, make sure that it lines up nicely, and then I'm going to stamp that down. There we go. So it looks something like that. There's a chance that you may not get it perfectly lined up, but that's going to be okay since we'll be coloring that in. Then you'll want to clean it again so that you don't have any images left over. And then you're going to pick up this other flower here off to this side. And again, remove any of those extra images. And then when you're ready, you can go ahead and add this to your paper. Okay, there we go. So go ahead and stamp that down. And it'll look something like that. And again, you are going to get a little darker image here, even if you lined it up perfectly. Okay, so now that the stamping is done, let's go ahead and do our coloring. And I'm going to do the center of the flowers in this pretty Cajun Craze. And I've got the light and the dark. And the way I like to do this to give it some texture is to just do little dots in the center of each flower. And you don't want to fill it in completely because you want to make sure you have the space for the light color. So I've started with the dark. And then I can go in with the light. And I'm not blending, I'm just adding to it. Okay, so something like that. You can see how there's some variation to the colors. Then for the petals for my flowers, I've got two different yellows. I've got So Saffron in both light and dark, and I have the Mango Melody. And I'm going to begin with the Mango Melody and just add this to some areas where I want to have maybe some dark areas, some shadows, and I'm using the fine tip end here. Maybe closer to the center of the flower, kind of to help me separate these petals from one another. So something like that, and I'm just going to go ahead and do that to all of the flowers. Okay, so you'll start with something like this, and then you're going to take either your dark So Saffron or your light and just kind of start to blend those dark colors into the light colors. Okay, so you'll get something that looks like this when you're all done. Then I'm going to use two different colors of green. I've got Granny Apple Green and Mossy Meadow. And I'm going to use the light Mossy Meadow first. I'm going to start with these on the stems. Then I'm going to add some of the dark color to the veins of the leaves. Next, with the light Granny Apple Green, I'm going to fill in the leaves and blend that Mossy Meadow. So it will look something like this when you're all done. So now that we've finished creating our focal point for our card, we're ready to put our card together. I have a card base of thick Whisper White cardstock, and it's just been cut to your regular size, which is 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and scored at 4 1/4. And then I'm adding a piece of gold shimmer vellum that's been embossed with the Macrame 3D embossing folder. I just love how it gives that little bit of shimmer, and it's just a fun texture. This is just cut 1/8 of an inch smaller than the front of this card base. And so it's 4 1/8 inches by 5 3/8 inches. And I've just added it to the front. Then I have a piece of Cajun Craze cardstock, and it's the same size as my Basic White cardstock. And I'm just going to add it to the back of this at an angle. So just kind of twist them so that they're just kind of peeking out from the sides. This is going to get added to my card base. Oh. So if you're using the strong adhesive, just be careful. Sometimes it will rip your cardstock. So this is now going to go on my card base, and you can place it at a slight angle as well. And then I have a piece of the cork specialty paper, and I just love this paper so much. It's just got a really fun texture and adds that natural element to my card. I'm just going to tear one side and kind of just distress it a little bit, just to add that fun texture to it. And then add this across the bottom of my card. So it's going to be touching the right side just a little bit. I want this flower down here to kind of peek out. So I want to just make sure that's on there nice and straight. So I'm going to add my greetings, and I've got "You shouldn't have, but I'm glad you did." And I've already stamped it and trimmed it down. I'm going to add this with a little liquid adhesive. Just kind of spread that out. And that's going to go right below the top edge of that cork paper. Just like that. And then I've already stamped and cut out my thank you. And I'm going to add some small pieces of Stampin' dimensionals to the back. So I'm just kind of trimming off a long section that's kind of skinny, and then I can kind of just eyeball how big I need that piece to be, and then add it to the back of these greetings. And I'm going to begin by placing "you" first, and then the thank you above that. Okay, so you'll get something that looks like that. And then I'm going to add a bow down here at the bottom of my greeting, and I've already tied 10 inches of linen thread, and I'm going to add it with a glue dot. Just down like that. And my card is all done. I hope you enjoyed watching me create this beautiful card today. If you'd like to get written instructions or see close-up images, you can visit my blog, creativechelsea.com, and the link is listed below in the description box. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.